keep studying English, but the second you stop, your brain snaps back to your native language like a rubber band. The weird part is, you don't need more vocabulary. You need one simple loop that forces your brain to stay in English. Let me say something that might annoy you, but it's true. Most people aren't bad at English. They're just bad at keeping English turned on. They do one practice session, then they disappear for a day, a week, a month. And they wonder why speaking feels slow. Of course it feels slow. Your brain is doing double work. Think in your language, translate, then speak. That translation step is the real enemy. Here's the trap. You think you need a speaking partner. You don't. You think you need to live in the US, UK, Canada, Australia. You don't. You think you need 2 hours a day. You don't. Those are comfortable excuses because they let you delay. And if you're addicted to delaying, your English will stay almost good forever. What you actually need is a loop, a question loop, because questions are gasoline. Questions keep the engine running. When you ask a question in English, your brain has to search for meaning in English. When you answer in English, your brain has to build a sentence in English. And when you ask a follow-up question, your brain doesn't get to relax. It stays inside English mode. That's the whole game. Most learners practice like this. They read something, repeat a few lines, maybe talk for 30 seconds, then stop. And the moment they stop, their brain returns to default language. That's why you can know English, but still freeze in a real conversation. It's not because you're stupid. It's because you keep turning English off. So I'm going to give you a trick that's almost unfair, because it works even if you're alone, even if you're shy, even if you have zero confidence, even if your schedule is chaos. It's called the question loop, and you're going to use it for 3 minutes a day. Not 30, not 15. 3. Now listen carefully, because if you miss this, you'll try to make it complicated, and you'll ruin it like everyone ruins everything. The rules are simple. Step 1. Ask yourself one question in English. That's it. One question, not a paragraph, not a perfect sentence. Just a question. Step 2. Answer with one sentence. One sentence. Not a speech, not a TED Talk. One sentence. Step 3. Ask a follow-up question that starts with a trigger phrase. And this part is the magic. Your follow-up question must start with one of these. Why? How? What if? What's the easiest way? These starters are like keys that unlock automatic thinking. They force your brain to connect ideas. Step 4. Repeat for 3 minutes. 3 minutes. Short enough that you can't complain. Long enough that your brain starts switching gears. Now I know what you're thinking. Okay, but what do I talk about? Good. That question is exactly why people fail. They waste time choosing topics, searching for perfect prompts, trying to be interesting. Stop it. You're not making content. You're training your brain. Your topic is your real life. Whatever you're doing right now is enough. You can do this while brushing your teeth, walking to work, waiting for food, taking a shower, sitting on your bed before sleep. You don't need a notebook. You don't need an app. You need a loop. Let me show you what this sounds like in real life. Imagine I'm doing it right now. What am I doing? I'm sitting here training my English thinking. Why am I doing it? Because I want to speak without translating. What's the next step? The next step is to ask another question and keep going. How can I make this easier? I can use simple words and short sentences. What if I make mistakes? Then I still win because I'm practicing thinking, not performing. Do you see what happened? Nothing fancy, no advanced vocabulary. But English stayed on. My brain didn't have time to jump back to another language because it kept chasing the next question. That's the point. You're not chasing perfect grammar. You're building a habit. English running in the background. Here's a truth most people don't want to accept. Thinking in English doesn't happen because you learn enough. It happens because you keep English active long enough for your brain to stop translating. Translation is like training wheels. It helps you start, but if you never remove it, you'll never ride smoothly. The question. Loop removes it slowly, safely, every day. And yes, the first few days will feel awkward. Your brain will try to escape. You'll pause. You'll repeat words. You'll feel dumb. Good. That discomfort is proof you're switching modes. If you feel comfortable, you're not training. You're staying inside what you already know. So let's make this even more practical. You need structure. Here's the starter loop you can use anywhere, anytime. What am I doing? Why am I doing it? What's the next step? That's it. Those 3 questions can generate infinite follow-ups. Because once you answer, what am I doing? You can ask, why? Once you answer, why, you can ask, how? Once you answer, how, you can ask, what if? And suddenly, you've created a chain. Your brain is building connections in English. That's thinking. Now, I want you to do one thing that most learners are too scared to do. Record 1 minute of your loop. Not 3 minutes. 1 minute. Open your phone. Voice recorder. Speak your loop for 1 minute. Then listen once. Just once. You're not listening to judge yourself like a bully. You're listening like a coach. You're looking for one tiny improvement. Maybe a clearer sentence. Maybe a smoother word. Maybe less silence. Then tomorrow, you do another minute. You don't need motivation. You need repetition. Because confidence doesn't come first. Confidence comes after you prove to yourself, with evidence, that you can do it. And if you're thinking, but I hate my voice, welcome to the club. Almost everyone hates their voice at first. You either get over it, or you stay weak and silent. Choose. Here's what I need you to understand before we go deeper. This loop is not practice for speaking with people. This loop is practice for thinking without people. That's why it's powerful. It's private. It's fast. It's real. And it fits into any country, any lifestyle, any level. In the next part, I'm going to show you how to upgrade this loop so you don't run out of ideas, and how to use it to fix the exact moment you normally freeze in conversations. The moment you start doing the question loop, you'll notice a new problem. After 20 or 30 seconds, your brain tries to quit. You suddenly run out of ideas. You repeat the same sentence, you feel stuck, and then you stop. That's exactly where most people fail, right when the loop is about to start working. So here's the upgrade that keeps you from stalling. You don't need more topics. You need better follow-up angles. Think of your loop like a staircase. Each follow-up question is a step. If you keep asking the same type of question, you hit a wall. But if you rotate the angle, why, how, what if, what's the easiest way, you keep moving. Let me show you how this looks in real life, with a normal situation. Imagine you're making breakfast. What am I doing? I'm making breakfast. Why am I making breakfast? Because I need energy to start my day. How can I make this breakfast healthier? I can add fruit or reduce sugar. What if I don't have time? Then I'll make something simple like eggs or yogurt. What's the easiest way to keep doing this every day? I can prepare ingredients the night before. See what happened? This is not English study. This is you living in English. That's what you want. Now here's the part that makes this a serious tool instead of a cute trick. You're going to add one constraint that forces growth. The one-sentence rule stays, but now your one sentence must be specific, not vague. Bad answer, because it is good. Better answer, because it helps me focus at work and I feel less tired. Specific answers create more follow-up questions automatically. Vague answers kill the loop. So when you answer, don't say good, nice, bad, okay, fine. Those are lazy filler words. They give your brain nothing to build on. Instead, add one detail. A reason, a feeling, a number, a place, a time. Example: I'm practicing English. Add detail: I'm practicing English because I want to speak faster at work meetings. Now your follow-ups become obvious. Why do I need to speak faster? How can I train for meetings specifically? What if I forget words during the meeting? What's the easiest way to prepare common phrases? This is how you stop freezing. Because freezing happens when your brain has no path forward. The loop builds paths. Next, you need a safety net for the days your brain feels tired and you can't think of anything. Here's the simplest solution. Build a set of universal follow-ups you can attach to any answer. These 4 work for almost anything. Why does that matter? How can I do it in a simpler way? What if something goes wrong? What's one small step I can do right now? If you memorize only these, you'll never run out of questions again. Let's test it with something boring, like sitting on a bus. What am I doing? I'm sitting on a bus going home. Why does that matter? Because I can use this time instead of wasting it. How can I do it in a simpler way? I can speak one short sentence at a time. What if something goes wrong? If people look at me, I'll just whisper or do it in my head. What's one small step I can do right now? I can describe what I see outside the window. And now the loop explodes into easy material. What do I see? How would I describe it? What if I had to explain it to a friend? What's the easiest way to say it with simple words? Notice something important. This method doesn't require confidence. It produces confidence as a side effect. Weak people wait until they feel ready. Strong people move while feeling unready. That's why they improve. Now, let's make this even more practical for viewers worldwide. People in busy cities, people working long shifts, students, parents. anyone who can't sit down for long study sessions. You're going to attach the loop to a daily trigger. A trigger is a moment that happens every day, no matter what. When you attach a habit to a trigger, it becomes automatic. Pick one trigger. The moment you wake up, when you brush your teeth, when you start walking, when you open your laptop, when you wash dishes, when you get into bed, then you do your 3-minute loop at that trigger. Same time, same place, same routine. Your brain learns, oh, this is when English starts. This is what most learners don't understand. Consistency beats intensity. 10 minutes once a week is weaker than 3 minutes every day. Your brain needs frequent switching into English mode, not rare long sessions. And here's the retention trick that keeps you watching and keeps you doing it. You're not aiming for perfect English. You're aiming for continuous English. If you pause, you don't stop. You restart with a question. If you forget a word, you don't stop. You replace it with simpler words. If your grammar is wrong, you don't stop. You keep the engine running. Because the real goal is fluency, and fluency is flow. Flow is not accuracy. Flow is movement. Let me give you a simple repair sentence you can use when you get stuck. This saves you in real conversations too. Let me say that in a simpler way. That sentence is a cheat code. It buys you time. It keeps you in English. It removes pressure. And pressure is what makes you freeze. So in your loop, if you get stuck, you say, let me say that in a simpler way. Then you repeat the idea with easier words. Example, I want to improve my communication skills for professional networking. Too heavy. Repair. Let me say that in a simpler way. I want to speak clearly with people at work. That's it. Now you can keep looping. Why do I want that? How can I practice work English? What if I feel nervous? What's the easiest way to start? Now, one more upgrade before you move on. Use micro scenes. A micro scene is a tiny situation you can describe in 10 seconds. Ordering coffee, answering a phone call, asking for directions, introducing yourself, explaining your job, describing your day. When your loop gets boring, you jump into a micro scene. What am I doing? I'm preparing for a coffee order. What will I say? I'll say, hi, can I get a coffee with milk? Why that sentence? Because it's common and easy. What if they ask a question? Then I'll ask them to repeat slowly. What's the easiest way to practice this? I can repeat it 5 times with different drinks. Now you're not just thinking, you're rehearsing real life. And that's the difference between people who study English and people who actually become English speakers. One group collects information. The other group trains behavior. Keep this in mind. Your loop is not entertainment. It's training. And training is supposed to feel a little uncomfortable. If it's always easy, you're not leveling up. Now you've got the loop running. You can keep English on for 3 minutes. Good. But if you stop here, you'll still have one big weakness. Your loop might stay too safe, too simple, and too disconnected from real speaking pressure. So now we level it up in a way that still feels easy, but secretly trains the exact skills you need for conversations, interviews, work meetings, travel, and daily life. The upgrade is called controlled expansion. Right now, your answers are one sentence. Keep that rule. But inside that one sentence, you're going to expand in only one of three ways. Option A, add a reason. Option B, add a detail. Option C, add a consequence. Not all three, just one. That's how you grow without getting overwhelmed. Example. Same base sentence. I'm learning English. A. Reason. I'm learning English because I want a better job. B. Detail. I'm learning English at night after work for 10 minutes. C. Consequence. I'm learning English so I can speak without freezing. Each version gives your brain more material, which means more follow-up questions, which means longer thinking time in English. And this is important. Longer thinking time is not extra effort. It's literally how your brain rewires. Now here's the part most people never do. You're going to build a loop around your mistakes. Because your mistakes are not the problem. Your fear of mistakes is the problem. So instead of avoiding mistakes, you're going to turn them into fuel. When you notice a mistake, grammar, word choice, pronunciation, you don't stop and judge yourself. You do this. Repeat the sentence again, slower. Fix only one thing. Continue the loop. Example, you say, I very like this. You catch it. You repair. Let me say that in a simpler way. I really like this. Then you continue. Why do I really like this? How can I describe it better? What if I had to explain it to a child? What's the easiest way to say it? That's the difference between learners and speakers. Learners stop at the mistake. Speakers move through the mistake. Now let's make your loop even more real world by adding the thing that creates fluency fast: constraints. Constraints sound annoying, but they make you sharper. And they keep viewers watching because they feel like a challenge, not a lesson. Here are three constraints you can rotate across days. Constraint 1, no no long silence. If you pause, you must ask a question immediately. Silence becomes a trigger, not a failure. Constraint 2, use only 1,000 common words. That forces simplicity. And simplicity is what makes you fluent. People who chase advanced English usually speak worse, not better, because they overthink. Constraint 3. Use one target phrase repeatedly. Pick one phrase you want to own, like, I'm not sure, but from my experience. The main point is, what I mean is, let me think for a second. Then you loop while inserting the phrase naturally. Example. What am I doing? I'm practicing English, and the main point is to stay in English mode. Why is the main point to stay in English mode? Because that's how I stop translating. How can I use this in real conversations? From my experience, I freeze when I try to be perfect. What if I freeze again? I'm not sure, but I can use a repair sentence to keep talking. This is how you build automatic speaking tools. Not by reading about them, by repeating them until they become reflex. Now we're going to fix the biggest reason people quit this method after 3 days. Boredom. The loop is powerful, but if you always loop about random daily actions, Your brain starts feeling like it's doing homework. So we add emotional anchors. Your brain learns faster when emotions are involved, not drama. Real emotions: stress, excitement, frustration, pride, relief. So once a day, your loop topic becomes an emotion you actually felt today. Here's the format. What did I feel today? I felt go when washkom ha. Then follow up with, why did I feel that? How did I react? What if I reacted differently? What's the easiest way to handle it next time? Example. What did I feel today? I felt stressed when my boss asked me a question. Why did I feel stressed? Because I didn't know how to answer quickly. How did I react? I stayed quiet and tried to translate. What if I reacted differently next time? I could answer with a simple sentence first. What's the easiest way to prepare for that? I can practice 3 common work questions in my loop. That is insanely practical. And it builds confidence because you're rehearsing your real-life problems, not imaginary textbook situations. Now let's connect this directly to speaking speed, because that's what everyone wants. Speaking speed doesn't come from talking fast. It comes from retrieving words faster. And retrieval speed comes from repetition under light pressure. Your loop creates that pressure, but we can make it even more effective with a simple timer structure. Minute 1. Easy questions. Warm up. Minute 2. Follow-ups only. Why, how, what if. Minute 3. Speed round. Shorter answers, less thinking time. In the speed round, you're not trying to be perfect. You're trying to keep the flow. Your sentences can be small. That's fine. Example speed round. What am I doing? Practicing. Why? To get faster. How? By repeating questions. What if I feel stupid? I keep going. What's the easiest way? 3 minutes daily. This trains your mouth and brain to stop hesitating. It's like sprint training for your speaking. And if you want an extra edge, here's a trick that works for people worldwide, even if they live in a non-English environment. Use your environment as your vocabulary bank. Look around and name 3 things. Then loop on one of them. I see a window. Why is it open? How does the air feel? What if it starts raining? What's the easiest way to close it? This is real-time thinking. It's what native speakers do naturally. You're copying the process, not the accent. One more thing before we move forward. Your loop should feel slightly challenging, but never impossible. If you're constantly stuck, your loop is too hard. If you're never stuck, your loop is too easy. Adjust by changing only one variable. Make questions simpler. Make answers shorter. Add just one detail. Use the repair sentence. No drama, no excuses. Just adjust and keep the engine running. Now you're doing the loop. You're expanding answers. You're using constraints. You're even looping around emotions. Good. But there's still one gap that keeps people good in practice and weak in real situations. Real conversations are messy. People interrupt. They ask unexpected questions. You forget words. Your confidence drops. And suddenly, your brain panics and runs back to your native language. So now, we train the survival skill. Staying in English when things don't go as planned. This is where the question loop becomes more than a practice tool. It becomes your emergency system. You're going to add 3 rescue moves that keep you speaking no matter what. Clarify, stall. Redirect. These are not fancy. They are normal. Native speakers use them constantly. The difference is, learners think they're cheating, so they freeze instead. Rescue move. 1. Clarify. When you don't understand, don't guess in silence. Ask a simple question. Use one of these. Sorry, what do you mean by that? Can you say that again? Do you mean A or B? Could you explain it in a simpler way? Now practice it inside your loop. Ask yourself, what question might someone ask me at work? Answer. They might ask me to explain my progress. Follow up. What if I don't understand the question? Answer. I will say, sorry, could you explain that in a simpler way? Follow up. How can I say it more politely? Answer. I can say, just to make sure I understand, do you mean? This is training for reality, not theory. Rescue move 2. Stall. Stalling is not wasting time. It's buying time while staying in English. Use. Let me think for a second. That's a good question. I haven't thought about that, but give me a moment. Now the key. You must keep the sound going. Your mouth moving in English keeps your brain in English. Silence is where your brain escapes. So, in your loop, you practice stalling on purpose. Example. What if I'm asked something hard like, what are your weaknesses? Answer. I can start with, that's a good question. Let me think for a second. Follow up. How do I answer without panicking? Answer. I can give one honest weakness and one solution. Follow up. What's the easiest way to structure it? Answer. I can say, weakness, example, improvement. You're building a template. Templates reduce panic. Rescue move 3. Redirect. When you don't know a word, don't stop. Go around it. This is how fluent speakers survive. They don't search for the perfect word. They replace it. Use. It's like, it's similar to, what I mean is, let me describe it another way. Practice it in the loop. What if I forget the word appointment? Answer. I can say, I have a meeting with the doctor. Follow up. How can I train this skill? Answer. I can practice describing words with simple language. Good. Now we turn that into a daily mini exercise that makes your loop stronger. The describe without saying drill. Pick one word you often forget, then describe it without using the word. Example. Word, deadline. Description. It's the last day you must finish something. Now loop. Why do deadlines matter? How do I handle deadlines better? What if I miss one? What's the easiest way to plan ahead? This forces your brain to think in English instead of translating. Because translation depends on exact words. Description depends on meaning. Meaning is fluency. Now, let's connect this to a real pain. People say, I can think in English alone, but when I talk to someone, I freeze. That happens because your brain has two jobs in conversation: listen and understand. Respond quickly. Your loop trains job 2. Now we add a layer that trains job 1 without needing a partner. It's called the echo question. Here's how it works. You pretend someone asked you something, and you repeat part of it back as a question. This buys time and confirms understanding. Example. Imaginary question. What do you do for work? You respond, my work? I'm in customer support. Or, my job? I handle customer emails. See, you didn't answer immediately. You echoed, then answered. That echo keeps you calm and keeps the conversation moving. Practice it inside the loop. Ask yourself, what question could a stranger ask me? Answer. They could ask, where are you from? Now echo it. Where am I from? I'm from Vietnam, but I live in... Follow up. Why might they ask that? How can I answer in a friendly way? What if they ask a follow-up like, why did you move? What's the easiest way to keep the conversation going? This is how you train conversation flow without a partner. Now let's solve another global problem: pronunciation fear. A lot of people don't speak because they're terrified of sounding wrong. That fear is childish and expensive. Expensive because it steals years of your life. Here's what's real. Clarity matters more than accent. Most international English is spoken between non-native speakers anyway. Your goal is to be understood and to respond smoothly. So you're going to do a simple two-pass method in your loop. Pass 1. Speak naturally, no stopping. Pass 2. Repeat the same loop slower, focusing on clarity. You're not trying to sound American or British. You're trying to sound clear. And recording helps here, but again, record 1 minute only. Listen once, choose one improvement. Done. Don't overdo it, because perfectionism is just fear in a suit. Now, here's a retention trick that keeps you practicing and keeps viewers engaged. The 3 situations rotation. Instead of looping randomly every day, rotate between 3 practical situations. Day A, work school day. B, social life. Day C, travel, services, restaurants, taxis, shops. So your brain builds 3 stable vocabulary zones. That's how you stop feeling like you know words but can't use them. Example. Work loop starter. What task am I working on today? Why is it important? What's the next step? What if I get stuck? What's the easiest way to ask for help? Social loop starter. Who did I talk to today? Why did that conversation matter? How did I feel? What if I wanted to say more? What's the easiest way to keep small talk going? See travel/services starter. What do I need to ask for? Why do I need it? How can I say it politely? What if they don't understand me? What's the easiest way to repeat it differently? This is real. This is useful. This is how you become functional fast. And one more thing. When you feel your brain trying to switch back to your native language, don't fight it with force. Redirect it with a question. Questions are steering wheels. You're not hoping to think in English anymore. You're controlling it. The next reason people quit isn't lack of time. It's the feeling of, I'm doing this, but am I improving? If you can't see progress, your motivation dies. And when motivation dies, you go back to scrolling, telling yourself you'll start again next week. That's weak behavior. So now we fix it with a simple system that creates proof. You're going to measure your loop, not with grades, not with perfect grammar, with 3 real metrics that actually matter for fluency. How long can you stay in English without switching? How fast can you respond to a question? How smoothly can you recover when you get stuck? That's it. Those 3 are the core of speaking. So here's your weekly test. It takes 4 minutes total, and it will show you progress even when you feel like nothing is changing. Test A, the 60-second loop. Record yourself for 60 seconds doing your question loop. 1 minute only. Then listen once, only once. You're not allowed to judge your accent. You're not allowed to insult yourself. You're looking for data. Ask, did I stop completely? Did I switch languages? Did I keep moving with questions? Did I use repair phrases? If you can keep going for 60 seconds, you're already ahead of most learners. Most people can't even do that without panicking. Test B, the 10-second response. Set a timer. Ask yourself a random simple question, then force an answer within 10 seconds. Questions like, what did I do this morning? What will I do after this? What's a problem I'm dealing with? What do I want this month? If you can answer within 10 seconds, you're training speed. If you can't, that's fine. That's the point of training. You don't get angry at a weight because it's heavy. You lift it until it isn't. Test C, the recovery drill. On purpose, stop mid-sentence and practice recovery. Example, I want to improve my... Stop. Then recover with a rescue move. Let me say that in a simpler way. Or, I mean, or, what I'm trying to say is... Then continue the loop, like nothing happened. Why is this important? Because real speaking isn't about never getting stuck. Real speaking is about not dying when you get stuck. Now we add the most powerful upgrade of all. You're going to stop practicing English. You're going to practice your life in English, because the easiest way to stay consistent is to train what you actually need. So I want you to create 3 personal loop lanes. You rotate them. Lane 1, your daily routine. Lane 2, your work or studies. 3, your goals and problems. If you don't have work, use school. If you don't have school, use daily responsibilities. Everyone has something. Daily routine lane. What am I doing right now? Why am I doing it? How do I feel about it? What's the next step? What's the easiest way to make it better? Work/study lane. What am I working on? Why does it matter? How do I explain it simply? What if something goes wrong? What's the easiest way to ask for help? Goals, problems. Lane. What do I want? Why do I want it? What's stopping me? What if I fail? What's one small step I can do today? Now your English becomes functional. It stops being a hobby. It becomes a tool. And here's the thing you need to hear clearly. If you practice English, but you never practice explaining your real life, you'll always feel fake when you speak. You'll have textbook sentences, but no real voice. The loop builds your voice because it forces you to talk about what you actually think. Now we take it one step deeper. You're going to build mini stories inside the loop. Why? Because storytelling is the backbone of conversation. When people ask you questions, they don't want single words. They want a small story. What happened, what you did, what you learned. So you'll use a simple story frame in one sentence. Yesterday, I kahaka because gigi and it made me feel ahas. One sentence, but it's a story. Example. Yesterday, I missed a deadline because I underestimated the task, and it made me feel stressed. Now, follow-up questions become automatic. Why did I underestimate it? How can I plan better next time? What if it happens again? What's the easiest way to avoid it? This is how you connect English thinking to real communication. Now we handle another invisible killer: perfectionism. Perfectionism feels like high standards, but it's actually fear of looking stupid. And fear makes you quiet. Quiet makes you weak. Weak makes you stay the same. So you need a rule. During the loop, your only job is continuous output, not correctness. Correctness comes later, in small adjustments, not during the flow. If you want to improve grammar, you do it after the loop, with one sentence only. Pick one sentence from your recording and rewrite it correctly. That's it. One sentence per day, not 10, not 50. One. That method is brutal in the best way because it prevents overthinking. Now, because this video is aimed at people all over the world, I'm going to address the biggest excuse I hear from every country, every culture, every age. I don't have time. That's a lie. You have time. You just spend it on things that give you nothing back. If you can scroll social media for 3 minutes, you can do a 3-minute loop. If you can watch a short video, you can record 1 minute. No excuses. And if you still struggle to stay consistent, use this simple trick. Tie the loop to something you already do every day, but only allow that thing after the loop. Example. No coffee until you do the loop. No music until you do the loop. No scrolling until you do the loop. People hate hearing this, but it works because it forces discipline. Motivation is unreliable. Discipline is real. Now, one more thing that keeps retention high and keeps your practice sharp. Make it a challenge. For the next 7 days, do the loop every day. Record 1 minute on day 1 and day 7. Then compare. You will hear improvement. Maybe not perfect, but improvement. And that proof will shut up the voice in your head that says, this doesn't work. Because it does work, if you stop being soft and you actually repeat it. You've built the loop, you've made it practical, you're measuring progress, and you're tying it to real life. Now we solve the final problem that still destroys people. Consistency over months, not days. Because anyone can be motivated for 3 days. Weak people can do that. The real question is, can you keep English running even when life gets busy, when you're tired, when you feel like you're not improving fast enough? So now you need a system that makes the loop automatic and impossible to drop. Here's the truth. Habits don't survive on motivation. Habits survive on identity and friction control. You either become the kind of person who does the loop, or you stay the kind of person who plans to practice. So you're going to lock the habit with 3 simple mechanisms. Same trigger, same minimum, same reward. Same trigger means you do it at the same moment every day. You already chose a trigger earlier. Now you commit to it like an adult. Same minimum means you have a non-negotiable baseline. Your baseline is not 3 minutes. 3 minutes is the target. Your baseline is 1 minute. Why? Because on your worst day, you can still do 1 minute. If your standard is too high, you'll skip. If you skip, you break the chain. If you break the chain, your brain goes right back to default language. So the rule is simple. If you have energy, do 3 minutes. If you don't, do 1 minute. But you never do 0. 0 is the enemy. Same reward means you immediately attach something you want right after the loop. Coffee, music, social media, breakfast, whatever. You train your brain. Loop first, reward after. This is how you beat the "I don't feel like it" days. Now, to keep the loop from getting stale long term, you need a weekly structure. Not complicated. A simple rotation that keeps your brain learning new angles without you thinking too hard. Use this weekly loop plan. Day 1. Daily routine loop. Simple, easy, smooth. Day 2. Work, school loop. Functional phrases. Day 3. Emotion loop. Confidence and real-life language. Day 4. Story loop. Build conversation skill. Day 5. Problem-solving loop. Critical thinking, interviews. Day 6. Speed loop. Response time. Flow. Day 7. Review loop. Record 1 minute plus fix 1 sentence. This keeps balance. Some days are light. Some days are hard. But the habit stays alive. Now let's talk about something people avoid. Thinking fatigue. Sometimes you start the loop and your brain feels empty. You're not inspired. You feel like you have nothing to say. This is normal. It happens to everyone. So here's what you do. Use safe scripts. Safe scripts are simple question chains that work even when you're tired. You don't have to think. You just run the chain. Safe script. 1. The now, next, later chain. What am I doing now? What do I need to do next? What will I do later? Why is the next step important? What's the easiest way to do it? Safe script 2. The good, bad, improve chain. What went well today? Why did it go well? What didn't go well? Why not? What's one thing I can improve tomorrow? I'm safe script 3. The explain like I'm 5 chain. What am I trying to do? How can I explain it in very simple words? What example can I give? What if someone doesn't understand? What's the easiest way to say it again? These scripts are your emergency fuel. You never run out of ideas again. Now we make your loop sound more natural and less robotic. Because if you always speak in short, separate sentences, you'll stay choppy. Fluency requires connecting words. So you'll add simple connectors, just one at a time. Use these connectors. Because, so, but, that's why. The main point is, what I mean is, you don't need fancy connectors. Fancy makes you slow. Simple makes you fluent. Example. I'm practicing my loop because I want to stop translating so I can respond faster. One sentence, three connectors. Still easy, but more natural. Now, here's a high-impact practice that makes your English sound like real conversation. Add softeners. Softeners are small phrases that make speech natural. Actually, to be honest, I guess, kind of, a little bit. Practice. What am I doing? Actually, I'm practicing English a little bit right now. Why? To be honest, I want to speak more confidently. This is how you start sounding human, not like a textbook. Now let's address the global fear. People will judge me. If you live in a country where English isn't common, you might feel embarrassed speaking out loud in public. Fine. Then do the loop silently in your head, or whisper, or do it at home. The point is not performance. The point is repetition. But don't lie to yourself and say, I can't practice because people will judge me. Most people don't care. And even if they do, so what? Their opinion doesn't pay your bills. Their opinion doesn't build your future. Weak people live for approval. Strong people live for results. Now, if you want to level up even faster without a partner, here's the mirror conversation technique you add once or twice a week. You pretend you're two people. You ask a question as person A. You answer as person B. Then person B asks a follow-up question. Then person A answers. It's still your loop, but it trains turn-taking, which is the biggest difference between thinking alone and speaking with someone. Example. Person A. How was your day? Person B. It was busy because I had a lot of tasks. Person B. What was the hardest part? Person A. The hardest part was staying focused without taking long breaks. Person A. Why do you think that happened? Person B. Because I slept late and my energy was low. This is real conversation structure. No partner needed. Now, one more thing that keeps you consistent and makes you better fast. Build a phrase bank from your own loop. Every time you say a sentence you like, write it down. Not a long list, just one sentence per day. After 30 days, you have 30 real sentences from your life. Work sentences, daily routine sentences, emotional sentences, story sentences. That becomes your personal English, not generic English. Most learners collect random vocabulary. Then they wonder why they can't speak. You will collect sentences that you actually use. That's why you'll get fluent. And when you miss a day, because life happens, you don't quit. You restart the next day. No guilt, no drama. Guilt is useless. Restarting is power. Keep the chain alive. Keep English running. That's how this becomes permanent. So here's where we land. If you followed this all the way, you already know the truth. You don't have a lack of talent problem. You have a turning English off problem. And now you have a weapon that fixes it without a teacher, without a partner, without moving countries, without waiting for perfect conditions that will never exist. Most people want English to feel natural, but they keep treating it like an event, a special activity, something they do when they have time. That mindset is why they stay stuck for years. English becomes natural when it becomes normal. Normal means daily. Normal means automatic. Normal means no drama. And that's why the question loop works. It's not magic. It's not motivation. It's pressure plus repetition. It forces your brain to build meaning in English, to move forward in English, to recover in English. That's the real skill. Not memorizing lists, not doing 10 grammar units, not watching 100 videos and feeling productive while nothing changes. Let me make this painfully clear. If you keep translating, you will always be slow. You can have a big vocabulary and still sound weak because your brain is doing 2 steps instead of 1. The loop trains the one-step system. Question, answer, follow-up. Again and again. Your brain starts skipping translation because it's too slow and too expensive. It learns a cheaper pathway, English directly. And yes, at the start it feels uncomfortable. Good. That discomfort is your brain leaving its comfort zone. If you only do what feels comfortable, you will never become fluent. Comfort is a trap. Comfort is where dreams go to die quietly. You don't need comfort. You need progress. Now, I want you to remember something when you practice. You're not trying to sound impressive. You're trying to stay alive in English. Fluency is not fancy. Fluency is flow. Flow means even when you forget a word, you keep going. Even when you make a mistake, you repair and continue. Even when you feel nervous, you stall with a phrase and keep moving. That is what real speakers do. They don't freeze and apologize for existing. They communicate. They adapt. They continue. That's why the rescue moves matter. Clarify, stall, redirect. Those 3 are your shield. If you practice them inside the loop, you won't panic in real life. You will have something to say, even when your brain tries to shut down. And when you stop panicking, your speaking speed grows fast. Not because you suddenly got smarter, but because you stopped wasting time fighting yourself. If you want this to stick long term, don't be stupid and rely on motivation. Motivation is a mood. Moods change. Life gets busy. You get tired. You miss a day. Then you miss a week. Then you're back at 0. That's the cycle of weak people. Strong people use systems. Same trigger. Same minimum. Same reward. You don't need to feel ready. You just do your 1-minute baseline on bad days and 3 minutes on good days. Never 0. 0 is how your brain resets to default language. And every time you allow 0, you teach yourself that quitting is normal. Don't train quitting. Train showing up. And here's the best part. You don't need a perfect environment. You can do this anywhere in the world. Busy cities, quiet villages, crowded homes, long work shifts. English is not a place. English is a mode. You can turn that mode on with questions. Use your routine. Use your work. Use your emotions. Use your problems. Use micro scenes. Use the mirror conversation. Use your environment. These aren't activities. These are life. And when English becomes connected to your real life, it stops feeling like a foreign subject. It becomes part of you. Now, let's talk about the one excuse that kills more dreams than anything. I don't have time. If you can scroll social media, you can do a 3-minute loop. No excuses. That's not a cute line. That's a reality check. Because time isn't something you find. Time is something you choose. And if you keep choosing entertainment over growth, then don't complain about being stuck. That's on you. But if you choose 3 minutes a day, something crazy happens. You stop being a person who tries to learn English. You become a person who thinks in English. Not perfectly, not 24/7, but enough. Enough to answer, enough to respond, enough to live. And once you reach that enough, your confidence changes. You start speaking more. You start understanding faster. You start catching phrases naturally. You stop translating every sentence like a broken robot. You start trusting yourself. That's when English starts accelerating, because you're finally practicing in the right way, consistently, realistically, and under the right kind of pressure. So here's your final challenge. Not tomorrow, not next Monday. Today. Do one loop right after this video. Just one. 3 minutes if you can. 1 minute if you're tired. Ask a question. Answer with one sentence. Follow up with why, how, what if, or what's the easiest way. Keep it going. Then record 1 minute. Listen once. Choose one improvement. Done. That's the whole method. Simple, but not easy, because it requires discipline. And discipline is the line between people who change and people who stay the same. You don't need a partner. You need a loop. If you can scroll social media, you can do a 3-minute loop. Start today and do it every day.